Welcome to the You Are a Philanthropist podcast. Today we're talking with Glen Carnahan. Glen is on the board of the Littleton Youth Soccer Club, where he has volunteered for the past 5 years. Currently, he is the director of soccer development, a head soccer coach, and a basketball coach in his community.
You are the kind of person who wants to improve the lives of others, but you need to take pride in your everyday actions. You Are a Philanthropist believes that every act of goodwill deserves to be recognized as philanthropy. Each individual action you take impacts another's life. Believe that what you do makes a difference. So call yourself a philanthropist and start a ripple effect of generosity that boomerangs back to you. Go to youareaphilanthropist.com/shop. Style your outside to match your inside. Choose a t-shirt, hoodie, or bag to show how much you love giving to others. That's youareaphilanthropist.com/shop.
Hey y'all, I just want to remind you that I need you to subscribe, rate, and review to this podcast. If you're enjoying it and want more conversations like this and want to help people get more involved with philanthropy, please subscribe, rate, and review. I want to thank you to the people who have already rated this podcast 5 stars. Please click to rate it 5 stars. And here is some awesome reviews. I love hearing the different stories from a variety of people's personalities. We all can contribute with the strengths we have in making the world a better place for all of us to live in. Here's another one. I really enjoy this podcast. It's encouraging to see that I don't have to be a multimillionaire who created a philanthropic foundation to impact people. It's my small gifts of my time and resources that add up. I am a philanthropist. And here's another. There are opportunities all around at an early age to remind us to look out for each other. It's a lifelong journey of seeing the opportunities and acting in them. Thanks for a great reminder. Listeners, please do me a favor, subscribe, rate, and review right now so more people can hear more from us and learn more about philanthropy.
Welcome to the You Are a Philanthropist podcast with Jen Klein, a certified fundraising executive and philanthropic entrepreneur. This show is dedicated to empowering and inspiring you to make a difference in your community and our world. Jen believes all acts of kindness matter, and this show is designed to help you take pride in your everyday actions of improving the lives of others and making a change in the world. Now, here's Jen.
Glen, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Glen, I just want to start off by saying thank you so much. You're the first guest who I have personally benefited from your volunteer work, and my family has, and I'm so glad you do what you do.
Oh, thank you. Well, it's a privilege, and it's always fun to see your boys out on the field.
Thank you so much, Glen. One of the things that impresses me about you is your passion for soccer. Can you tell me how you got started with the Littleton Youth Soccer Association?
Well, maybe probably similar to most parents with young kids. So I grew up playing soccer, and my son started playing soccer, so I went to a board meeting just curious what they spoke about, and being one of the only people there, they were looking for somebody to head up their what they call the Pee-wee age group, which is kids that are 4 years old. And I happened to be the lucky one who was there, who had a child of age. So I said, sure, I'll give it a go, see what it's all about. I have some soccer background, so couldn't be too hard. That was my first introduction into being on the board, and I've been on the board for the past 5 years in various capacities.
So give our listeners a sense of your time commitment, because I know that you meet monthly as a board, but I know that as a head coach, as a basketball coach in town as well, and as the director of soccer development, you must be very busy.
Yeah, it can be, but when you have a passion for something, it's not a daunting task, or it doesn't feel like it's a big commitment. So I enjoy it. Sure, there might be some longer hours than other times, especially gearing up for the start of a season. At the end of the day, it's well worth the time.
Glenn, I just love hearing that because that's my whole mission is to share the joys of giving back. And so it really rewards me to hear that that's what you enjoy because you really do so much. What is your favorite aspect of volunteering?
The favorite aspect, it's more of I guess when you're done doing the volunteering work, it's the feeling afterwards. So in my line of work, when I start a project, you don't really see the fruits of your labor for quite a long time. So giving back, it's kind of short gratification. So I guess short of feeling that sense of accomplishment always feels good. Like, oh, I did something good today, and I helped out the community or helped out these little kids. Whereas in my line of work, I might not see those benefits for months or years ahead. So it's really kind of a sense of gratification, short term gratification from that perspective.
I think what's interesting is that I attended a recent board meeting, as you know, and I know they're looking for more volunteers. And I think people get worried that it's going to be too much of a time commitment. Can you talk a little bit about how you juggle your work, your volunteerism, your family life? How do you do it all?
Well, I have a very good supporting cast at home. So my wife and we both very active in the community. She's actually on our baseball board. So we kind of divide and conquer amongst ourselves. So we're very supportive of each other and support those extracurricular things that we want to go and do and help out across the community. So it's really having a good support cast there. If I didn't have that, not sure how much time I would be able to commit to those things. And same thing on her end. So we kind of lift each other up in that regard, and we'll step in wherever we need to help each other out as best we can. So I don't know if I answered all your question there, but
You
it's a team effort even at home.
you did. And one of my recent podcast guests, Eric Goodman, talked about his wife and the supporting role that she plays in allowing him to do his charitable work. And we talked about how he has his charities that he supports, she has her charities that she supports, and yet they have to come together and have charities they both support or juggle the homework with the community work. So it's rewarding for me to hear that just like Eric Goodman explained, it's the same way for you.
Oh, great. Yeah, and I'm sure it's very similar across other families as well. If you don't have that supporting cast, it can make it a little more challenging to be able to help out as much as you would like. But there's also a balance to it, which is the important piece of it is trying to find that balance.
Yes, and I know it is a little easier when you're involved with your children in the sport or the volunteer work that you do. So I know your son really enjoys having you participate in his sports endeavors such as basketball and soccer.
Yeah, he seems to enjoy it. I keep asking him every year, "Do you want me to continue coaching?" And as long as he says yes, I'll be there to support him. But recognize that there will probably be a time at some point I'll need to step away, or he won't want me to coach. So that'll be a sad day, but certainly enjoy the time being able to coach him and his friends, enjoy the game of soccer or whatever sport that they're interested in. And that's the main thing is just the joy of what you can get out of team sports. So I grew up playing various sports, and my parents were actively involved, whether it was coaching or being a team parent. So they kind of helped model that for me, and just privileged that I can pass that along to my kids, and hopefully one day they'll be coaching their kids too.
That's awesome. My son is not, as you know, not you're not his direct coach, but I have heard wonderful things about your coaching from a third grade boy perspective, which is that you're a lot of fun because you do fishy, fishy cross my ocean, and you're very kind. You never yell.
Oh, Well, that's glad to hear from Nico, that he appreciates that, and that's the main thing at this age. 8, 9 year olds, we're not developing the next professional soccer player here as much as we would like. It's more around providing them the tools that if they want to grow and become that professional athlete, we're providing the foundational piece of it, and most importantly, the joy from it. So it's not a chore or a job or anything like that. We want to first have them enjoy it and get them to come back and enjoy it even more. So if we do that, we've done our job. And if they want to bring that forward as they get older, we'll certainly support them and provide them the right or direct them to the right avenues if that's not the path through the town soccer program. But that's the way I look at it at this young age, is really just find the joy in the game. And as long as you enjoy it, keep doing it. And if we do those things, I think we're doing a good job.
You mentioned that you're just switching gears a little bit because you mentioned that your parents were involved with your youth sports as well. Can you talk a little bit about that and how they inspired you yourself to get involved with youth sports?
Yeah, I mean, my parents were actively involved, not only in sports. My dad helped coach my soccer team, basketball team, similar to what I'm doing now. So he was always actively involved, and it was always kind of cool to kind of say, "Oh, my dad helped coach my team," but my mom was also actively involved too. So I grew up in Oklahoma, so she was our den leader in Cub Scouts, and I guess my first introduction into giving back was, I don't know if they do it still, but it was scouting for food. So we would put out bags across the neighborhood, and we set a date. We'll come by and pick up those bags with canned goods or non-perishable food items, and we go deliver them to the local food pantry. So they were always sort of involved and helping out, whether it was as a coach or outside of activities where my mom would work behind the scenes. For our soccer team, when I was in middle school, we for 2 years, or maybe it was 3 years, we'd go support our local community's Special Olympics. So we'd be there to help the kids get organized, help them kind of understand what they need to do, and help kind of just be there for them. So they kind of helped instill that kind of giving back piece of it is bigger than yourself. You're helping out the community. So I really appreciate my parents and kind of being that model and introducing those or creating that introduction in how to give back. It's not always about how much money you give. It's, I think in your book, it's the time that you give back, which is a big piece of that.
That's beautiful. I didn't realize you were involved with the Special Olympics. Tell me, when you were a child and you were involved with Cub Scouts and the Special Olympics, did you enjoy it at that age as well? I'm just curious.
The Cub Scouts, yes. The Special Olympics, yes. But I guess I was probably at an age where I didn't fully understand the gravity of the situation. Like, you have a task to go do, and you would go do that task. But looking back on it, if I were to put myself in those shoes again with the perspective that I have now, I'd have a much better appreciation for it. Whereas I treated it more as a job of, oh, I need to go take these kids to these events or gather their bags and things like that. So I would just kind of do that, where looking back on it, just being available is probably could mean a lot more to them, where these are younger kids. I'm a little bit older, but still close to their age, kind of being that role model. I never really kind of pictured myself as a role model at that age. But I think if I were to reflect back, there was a sense of a role model, being a good role model at that age. So looking back on it, I'm very, very privileged I got to have that experience in providing that. Hopefully, be a good role model for those kids participating in the Special Olympics.
Oh, absolutely. And I know it reminds me about how your perspective on life and role modeling does change when you have your own children.
Yeah,
And
yeah, exactly. Very much.
so you have matured and realized, how important that work you did was. And I know you made a difference in those children's lives, even as you were a child yourself.
Yes, exactly. Yep.
Tell me what your greatest source of inspiration is. Is it your parents? Is it these Special Olympic and Boy Scout opportunities? What motivates you today?
What motivates me today? I mean, my parents helped set the foundation. And as I mentioned, a very good supporting cast. So between my wife, if you've met Becca, so she's a very positive person. So she really keeps me grounded and grateful for and encouraging. So that without that, I think is I'm not sure I would be as involved. So I guess a source of inspiration is that team, having her there and backing each other up. That sense of encouragement is probably my source of inspiration. But it's also, as I mentioned before, whether it's you spend 30 minutes helping out versus 3 hours helping out versus a full week helping out, it doesn't matter how small or how long it is. That that feeling you have afterwards is really what it's about. You get a sense of gratification for. I was able to hopefully make an impact on these kids' lives through sports and playing together and things like that. But it doesn't matter. I guess what the message I tell people who want to get involved is you can set your own terms. It can be something as short as I'm at the playground and I see some trash there and I picked it up and that took me 3 seconds to do and I feel great because I made that place better. It doesn't mean you have to go join a board or anything like that where you have to commit a longer commitment. You can set your own terms and define your source of giving and what that is, but it's really the feeling afterwards. You have that sense of accomplishment and especially the benefits that you have after it, the feeling of you benefited making that place better or impacting that child's life better. It's a good it's a good feeling to have.
Absolutely. And in scientific circles, it's called the helper's high. So
Yes.
it's proven science that we're, in my opinion, we're hardwired to give. It feels good to give. That's why I wrote my book, Giving is Selfish, but also it benefits other people. So it's a win-win situation. And it's proven that even volunteerism helps you live longer, which is fascinating. And you have lower blood pressure, you have better mental health. And the other one is that you have a stronger community tie.
Oh, that's awesome. That's great. Yeah, and you definitely get that experience for sure. The helper's high is definitely a real thing. You feel good about doing it, and I guess the benefit of that, the health and well being of your personal self, is just the icing on the cake, if you will.
Yes, absolutely. Tell me what your advice would be for people who maybe don't know how to get started or maybe are concerned about the time commitment they would be able to give. What would be your advice?
Yeah, I mean, it's I mentioned a little bit before around creating your own terms. So my definition of giving back is doing something on your own free will with the attempt to make someone or something better. There's no timeline or commitment or a financial component to it. You can define it what you want it to be. So that means you can give as much and as little as you want. You can set your own terms, which is, I think, the beauty of giving back. And we have different stages in our life where we might be able to give more versus different stages of our life we may not be able to commit as much. So being able to define that is, I think, an impactful thing to where somebody looking to get involved or knowing how to get involved, they can kind of define their own commitment there. And I guess what I mean by that is you don't need to be prescriptive in giving back, meaning you don't need to join a volunteer group or a board. I'll go back to the playground analogy. It can be ad hoc or a spur of the moment thing. Whereas You see the trash on the playground or along the sidewalk. Instead of thinking someone should pick up that trash or why is that there, just pick it up and put it in the trash, and that spent 3 seconds of your time. We all might have 3 seconds in our day to go pick up a piece of trash or open the door for someone or say thank you. Those are all different forms of giving back or spreading good into the world. So you can give as little or as much as you want. I think the important is define the scope or the terms of how you want to give back and recognize that at certain stages of your life, you might be able to do more than other stages, and that is okay. I recently read your book, so one of the things that kind of resonated with me was there might be some confusion around giving back in terms of it needs to be a long commitment or there's a financial component to it. Certainly financially is a part of it, but it's only one of many ways of giving back. But the most important part of it is the time. You have to take time to give back no matter what. So I guess that's my message to folks is define for yourself what kind of time you can give back. And it's okay to do it ad hoc. It doesn't need to be prescriptive. And it doesn't have to be a full-time commitment. Make it what you want.
That's perfect, Glenn. Thank you so much for reading my book.
No problem. It was a good read.
Thank you. My favorite question to ask my guests is kind of on a macro level. And what is your vision for a better world?
A vision for a better world. That's a loaded question right there. I think I guess for a better world, it's I guess taking that time to acknowledge people in terms of it's kind of the small things that can mean a lot to people. It could be like, so as me as a soccer coach, if I see a child on another team do a really good play, recognizing that for them could mean a lot coming from somebody who they may or may not know versus somebody who they do know. So it kind of could resonate as kind of take the time to, when you see something good happen, acknowledge that for that person to let them know, because that may spread that goodness elsewhere. They might take notice of that and pay it forward elsewhere. So I guess to make a better world is first be able to share it with others, and then hopefully they can receive that and share and spread it out even more.
Glenn, I always love answering this question because I've heard all sorts of answers, and I just love what you had to say. It actually reminds me of something you said to my son when he made a good goal. So I appreciate you on so many levels with the coaching you do for our community, for my son. You're just a wonderful community member. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. I really appreciate it. It's a joy being able to share my knowledge of the game. Hopefully they can learn a few things from me, but the most important piece of it is they're having fun, and hopefully they can share that fun and spread it as they get older to their kids or to younger kids as they get older.
Yes. Can you tell me if you have anything else that we haven't talked about that you just are dying to say to my listeners?
I know I said a lot already. I guess one thing, so I've said a lot around define your own terms. A lot of things I've mentioned are outside of your work experience. Giving back can also mean in your career as well. And I guess an example is where I work, there was a time when we were growing pretty significantly and brought in a lot of new faces. So one of our senior leaders came to a few of us and asked us, hey, we're bringing in a lot of new people. How can we become more inviting to those folks? So we kind of got together and created a networking group across the company. And it's broadened out to other parts of the corporation outside of where I work. We're a multinational company. And one of the important things there, this is on our own time, but that social element, even within your line of work, can help you create new connections across the business to grow your career. But one of the important elements that we felt was important in kind of developing this network is providing avenues for people to connect with people. So a social element to it was key, where they can network across different folks. There was an element of career development. So we would bring in speakers or invite them to certain things so they could hear different parts of the business. And the third component was community outreach, is how do we impact the surrounding area? And it was one of my proudest accomplishments outside of my or within my work is really not what I do for a living, but being able to provide that platform for folks where we'd go out and help out a local community, build garden beds along a rail trail, go do a fall cleanup at the Humane Society, the local Boys and Girls Club, kind of get them ready for their summer or spring season. Just kind of providing that avenue also help kind of build a closer community within our company, where they could get a better sense of their work and how they're benefiting not only what they do for a living, but also benefiting the community around them.
Oh, that's such a good advice, which is that businesses should and can get involved with philanthropy. And it starts with the person who works there. And like you said, being intentional. One of my recent guests, Natalie Silverstein, said, there's no random acts of kindness. It's intentional acts of kindness. And I can tell that you are someone who is thoughtful to think of others and be kind to everyone. So thank you so much for being here, Glenn. I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, Jen. Thanks for having me.